So.
Greg, did you have something?
Yeah, I did, and actually I tried, so I don't ramble, to keep myself a little bit organized. So, because I'm looking at this stuff, I think, with some historical context too. And I left that tri-board meeting, that last tri-board meeting, extremely troubled. And as John, you know, and Janie knows, I shared a lot of my thoughts with the superintendent over the weekend, and he shared thoughts back. But one reason I was troubled is that there was a lot of spin in the numbers, which really disturbs me. And I think it's not fair to do that to the residents because they don't know a lot about the data. So, we keep talking about this spike in 2 students costing $600,000. But we don't talk about the fact that over the foundation amount of 42 something, we get 75% or 72% of that back. Maybe not in this year, but in the following year. And it's never really a cash flow problem. The town's got the cash flow, so you're getting that money back. The real problem is we got a lot of $50,000 cases where we only get 70-something% of a very small amount of money. And those cases have been increasing and increasing and increasing. And we know that we have the greatest population of any district over at Landmark. And now we know it's because the dyslexia programs were not well managed back in the day. So what I've seen and hear is a school department that's making a lot of decisions year after year after year that are having a cumulative effect. So I've been on this committee, finance, 5 years. This is my 5th year. Not a long time, but almost all of those years been as liaison to the schools. You might recall my first year as liaison, they hired, after the town meeting, they hired nearly 20 teachers more than was in the budget. And I panicked. I panicked for them, thinking, oh my God, you're gonna be over budget. You're not gonna have enough money. No, don't worry, we're fine. And they finished that year with a surplus. We found out in 3 years, they hired almost 118 full-time equivalents, more than were ever budgeted for. And not 1 year did they not have a surplus. And when they had the surplus, they made decisions. We bought $400,000 worth of computers that they can finance only one part of it. The town had to come out and finance the next 2 years. This year, we see another surplus, $500,000. That's what it was through the quarter. At that tri-board meeting, they said, no, we had more expenses come in. 500,000 worth? Well, no. We spent 100,000, invested 100,000 on a dyslexia program, and we're going to come in at a $200,000 surplus. So yet, here we go again, another year with the surplus. We've asked time and time again to help us understand how what we talked about earlier, go flat in enrollment, but up in full-time equivalents. And we don't really ever get a strong answer on that. Or how is it that we have the same percentage, basically, and less for many years, of SPED population, but spend so much more? If we spend what the average community spends, we spend $5 million less in our budget. So with all of those facts, and those are facts, I find it really troubling for people to argue that we haven't invested in our schools. I know we've invested tremendously in the people, the technology, and of course in SPED. So this year, the town manager's given basically all of the increase that we're getting to the school, which I think is really quite generous. But we keep pressing for more dollars. The school is under this supposed self-proclaimed, one-time cost in the OOD. They show you that graph that shows cyclical. We don't know if we're going to have 2 or 3 of these big dollar cases come in next year, and it's only a cash issue that 1 year, because then the next year the money rolls out. We've asked many times, and many times after very pointed, that we want to see that buildup of the $50 million. The same bridges they're giving us on out of district, we'd like to just see it on the salary line. And it doesn't come, because every year that salary line winds up with a big surplus. And then I was really troubled that, and shame on some of us on these boards, that we would think free cash should go to something like this. I don't see that, because we don't contribute to free cash. If the schools were over budget, or under budget, and contributed to free cash, I would feel much more differently than the fact that they don't. And they have wide discretion in what they do with that money. And so my sense is they should live right within the 4% Andrew gave them. And that's the only way, that's how I'll vote as a finance committee member. And I feel like, I think people in this town don't really understand what's gone on after all this time that's contributed to it, where the cost level is today. And it's not that we haven't invested in the schools, they've made decisions of how to spend money, and it accumulates over time. That's how I feel.